So good morning, everyone. As we gather virtually today from all across the Ottawa region, we acknowledge that we are located on the traditional and ancestral territory of the Algonquin people. We recognize their longstanding relationship with this land, which remains unceded. So again, good morning, everyone. My name is Marissa Wu.
And I'm Rowan Burke, and we are students in grade 11 at Elmwood School.
We are members of our school's competitive rowing team who have the privilege to travel across Canada and the US for regattas and specifically Sarasota, Florida, once a year to train. So as you can imagine, we are very excited to be here with everyone doing this broadcast to interview a member of Canada's national rowing team, Kristina Walker.
So
Morning.
Welcome, Christina, and thank you for being here with us today.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, so before we begin, please note that at any time, viewers may send us questions for our guest, Kristina Walker, and using the Q&A function for our live streamers. The link will link to a Google form, and we will do our best to answer as many questions as we can. So also a reminder that this meet is being recorded for future publication to the NCSSAA YouTube channel. So let's start our interview with a short bio on Kristina Walker.
So Kristina Walker is a 2021 national team athlete, currently rowing in Victoria on Elk Lake. She first started rowing in 2014 with the Wolf Island Gentlemen's Four and joined the national team in 2018, which is an amazing achievement.
So some fun facts about Kristina include that she has a great passion for pushing her limits. Her favorite place to train is Wolf Island, her hometown. And finally, her favorite post-workout meal is a smoothie bowl.
All right, so I guess there is a video to be shown. There we go. Video. It was really cool to see you rowing in all those different kinds of boats, and it looks super pretty around you.
Yeah, we're pretty lucky. Elk Lake's pretty nice, and the weather's been treating us pretty well recently. So,
yeah. Pretty jealous. Okay. We just jump into the questions then, Rowan?
All right, perfect. So the first question we have is, are you training full time? And if so, what is like? We just wanted you to walk us through your day.
Sure. Yeah. I am training full time. I actually started training full time in the fall of 2019 when I came to the center full time. And before that, I was in university at UBC. And a day in the life of a rower, it depends on the rower, but for me right now, and kind of leading up to selection for the Olympics, I'm in a group of 15 women where we're training together between the 8 and the 4. Canada has qualified both the 8 and the 4 for the Olympics, as well as the pair and the women's single and the women's double, as well as the men's double, actually, men's pair, sorry. So anyway, so we wake up around 6:37, and I'll have my breakfast and then head off to the lake. I live about 5 minutes away from the lake, and we'll do a dynamic warm up, rig some boats if we're changing seats at all. And right now that's happening quite frequently just because we don't know who's going to be in which boat. And then we'll go out for about 20 to 25 kilometers. About 70%, 80% of the time we do a lot of steady state, so more aerobic training. And that's just where we do most of our volume. And that'll take about 2 to 2.5 hours, get off the water, eat, come back and recover. And we'll either have a second session on the water. So we'll head back to Elk Lake, go on the water again for about 10 to 15 kilometers, usually tech or some more sparky stuff. And then we'll head back, eat again, and we'll either have an erg or weights in the afternoon, and then recover, and then eat more and go to bed.
Nice. Sounds good. I know I like personally, when I row in the water and I'm told to do like a really long steady state, I just really dislike those long steady states, but I guess it is good for training, but yeah.
Yeah, you can get into a good flow, and but I understand. Yeah, you gotta figure out that mental side of things when you're going for those 25 kilometer rows.
Yeah. All right. My next question is, what is your favorite boat to row and why?
Good question. I think it would probably be an 8. As much as I love small boats too, I think once you get an 8 going really fast, it's the fastest you can go out of all the boats. So when we hit top speed in an 8, it's really, really exciting. But I also enjoy my time in a single, and in the 4 too. Actually, a really fast 4 is really fun. But yeah, I'd probably say an 8.
Yeah. That's cool. I like personally haven't rowed an 8 in like such a long time because we have like more small crews go out. So that's definitely something I want to try because I feel like a really fast 8 would be something really cool.
Yeah, I've never actually gone on an 8, which I've gone on like 4s. I like 4s a lot, which yeah. So our next question is, what about rowing has inspired you to reach the level that you are at now?
Good question. Yeah, so initially when I joined university back in 2014 at UBC, I actually went there for cross country and track. So I was a runner. I was predominantly a runner in high school, and I played other various sports, basketball, volleyball, badminton. But I had only really tried rowing a few times, and it wasn't really until I was out here. And I know that you have joined rowing pretty early in your life for a rower, but there are quite a few rowers that it's kind of like a late entry sport as well. And so for myself, I got recruited in the novice program, and I went to try out, and ended up making the team in my first year. And then I was doing both the sports in my first year, and then I ended up just choosing rowing for my second year following my running career. And yeah, I think it was the first time I got on the water that I just loved it. I think you girls kind of touched on that at the beginning when you said that one of your favorite things that you love about it is just when you were on the water, you just love being immersed. And I think I had the exact same feeling. And I think when you get, especially from you is in university, a lot of 8s, and when you get that synchronicity of everyone moving together, there's really nothing else like it. So
yeah, for sure. I can definitely relate to that. I feel like that's definitely an aspect that made me fall in love with rowing. It's just like once you get that relationship with like your team, it's just like a really strong bond. It's just super fun to like row and crew with them. All right. I think we have like a few questions rolling in, so I think we'll stop just to ask one question. There's a question from Mateo saying, during which stage of your career did you see the greatest development?
Oh, nice. Mateo, good. I think there's that initial learning curve for sure. But to be honest, I would probably say more in my third, fourth year. And I don't think it was just because of any rower going through your third and fourth year of rowing. I think it was just the way that where I was in my life and where I wanted to dedicate more time to the sport, as well as having a coach that predominantly just worked with me, a very technical coach. And we were both kind of on the same page of like, okay, we're going to do this, and I'm going to go all in. And so I found that I had, probably the biggest development was in my third or fourth year of the sport. But I think people vary, and I think you could also do the sport for a very long time. Like there was people on my team that they had been rowing for about 5 years, and then something just happened, something clicked, and their speed, they just became really fast. And to pick those variables of what actually impacted them, I'm not too sure, but I think it depends on the person and on the athlete.
For sure. That's interesting. Yeah. I feel like we can all, it's like kind of varies for everyone, I guess, for every rower. But the next question I have was, how has like training with COVID been? How's that been working out?
It's been a little tricky. We've been able to navigate it quite well, I think. So initially when we got told to go home last March, around the exact same time right now, actually, we had just done our selection for our cruise for the 8 and the 4. And then we were told to go home for a couple of weeks, but it turned into quite a few months. And over that time, we had our coach that was sending out a program every week. And we had a lot of cross train, so biking, running, and that was really nice. Ergs, of course. And then once we came back, the whole team was back here by about July. And then we were in pairs and fours for quite a while. Pairs actually for quite a while, slowly transitioned into fours. And as we kind of got permission to start going into the 8, we would do that. But I think it's been tricky, but I feel very blessed because I think a lot of people aren't in our situation where they are actually able to row, especially in bigger boats. So I think it's important to remember that and be grateful for the things that we do have. And we've been able to still improve as a team and get faster. And we're now back at the time where we're trying to figure out who's going to be in which boat. And our Rowing Canada just decided to not send any of the qualified crews, which is our crews, to any of the World Cups. So we won't be racing internationally before we have the Olympics, which will probably be the first time ever in Canadian history, which will be really fun.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, training has been so different for us. We haven't been on the water in a very long time. We've been training virtually, like on our ergs at home, which has been good to still keep up with it.
Yeah, I think it's just good right now, since we're all still getting on the erg, at least to like personally improve, so that it'll be good once we all get together so we can like be stronger, I guess. So that's good at least.
Okay, so we have a question from the virtual academy. What is the selection process leading up to the Olympics?
Good question. It's pretty tricky. So initially, so in 2019, in the summer of 2019, Canada went to World Championships, and they sent a woman. I'll just talk about the women's program: a women's 8, a women's 4, a women's double, lightweight double, and pair. And they qualified all of them except for the lightweight women's double, which was really, really awesome. And then when they came back to Canada, then it's not the athletes that qualify for the Olympics, it's the seats that they do. So you might qualify for the Olympics, but then you might not be the athlete that's actually in the boat for the Olympics. And so then there comes me. I didn't go to qualifiers. I was still in university, and in that fall, then we had a national rowing championships. I'm not sure if any of you have attended, but and that's where they came up with a list of athletes that were then going to move on to a camp, which was going to be an 8-month camp, an Olympic camp. And that's where I entered the program. And so this was 2019. And so for 8 months, we're being watched and analyzed and raced against, all up until we do seat racings, which is around now. And it just so happened that we're kind of repeating last year all over again. So we've been doing that again this whole winter, where we're just training, and you kind of go into every day thinking, I have to prove myself every day, which is, I think, a good mentality moving forward, but it can also be kind of tough mentally as well when you're always being watched and analyzed. But when you start to understand that's the process, then you adapt with it. And so now we're at the part where we're trying to figure out who's going to be in which boat. We have multiple periods of selection. We had one a month ago where our coach will seat race certain people in pairs, and then we'll get seat raced in fours, where one person will swap from one seat into the next. And then we'll be doing that again, actually, in a week and a half, just to figure out more where people belong. And actually, we do have 3 extra athletes that won't be attending the Olympics. 1 will be a spare, and 2 will actually have to go home. So it's an ongoing process and an ongoing evaluation all the way up until June.
That's really interesting that you're constantly being analyzed and watched. I couldn't. Oh, the pressure would be a lot.
It's okay, you get used to it.
Yeah.
I feel like that aspect, like you mentioned, like having to prove yourself was like definitely like very scary, because I know, like, for me, I don't have that all the time, but like when we were doing scholarships and stuff, like it's definitely like pretty intimidating sometimes. But I think, like you said, it's a really good like mental skill to like develop and stuff. So that's really cool. Okay, Rowan, do you want to go?
Yeah, I'll go. So you talked about this before, but when you were switching from, like, when you got into rowing, what like specifically sparked your passion for it, and like how did you transition from like running to rowing?
So I was predominantly a long distance runner. So I was much leaner than what I am right now compared to rowing physique. But yeah, it was just, when I was on the water, I just enjoyed it a lot more, and it just felt like home. And then it was also, I think, the team aspect. I really enjoyed the camaraderie, and how everybody was just there to work hard and, yes, enjoy their time there, but they really wanted to make an impact. And I really felt that on the rowing team. And so that's kind of what really drew me there. And the transition over, it was totally fine. I just had to kind of build more muscle in my legs running. The crossover for me, I think it depends on every athlete, but the crossover for me, I just had to really focus on rowing rather than continuing to run as much.
Yeah, for sure. I think once you get in rowing, you kind of know that you're going to have to really build up that muscle in the legs. But yeah. My next question is, why is rowing important to you, or like kind of like what has it taught you?
It's taught me a lot. I think one of the biggest things is that it's kind of always been there as I'm discovering myself. So it's kind of been a constant, even though I'll have my ups and downs and injuries. It's just always something that's I can turn to and go and do. So if I'm having a bad day, I go to practice and I'll focus on that rowing for that period of time, and then I'll come back and do whatever else I have to do. So it's been really nice. It's been a really good avenue for me, and a place for me to figure out who I want to be and where I want to go. And I think it also really helps when you have a group of really like-minded people working towards a common goal, who are driven and dedicated and have sacrificed similar things for this goal. Yeah, I think I answered your question. Did I?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
I feel like learning similar things too with rowing, kind of just like those like life skills that are so important, like just like teamwork and stuff like that. Like I feel like rowing is very like you have to work with the people around you or it's not going to work. So I think it like, yeah, like you said, a lot of good skills that we've developed. We have a question again from Virtual Academy. Seeing the boats in the video, how do you turn the boat around?
Oh, nice. Okay, so we're rowing sweeping boats, which means that we each only have one oar. I row on port side, and half of the boat will row on starboard side. So if the blade is squared, then we'll drop it in the water on one side and hold it in the water and kind of back towards the water, where the other boat on the other athletes that have that are on starboard, they'll be tapping it around. So we'll be backing and they'll be moving it forward, and then we'll slowly turn it around. But yeah, in an 8, it takes a little bit of time to turn that boat. In smaller boats, it's a little bit quicker, but nice question.
All right, Rowan, you have your question?
Yeah, I'm sorry. They just started morning announcements. I don't know if you can hear that, but I didn't know that was happening. So, okay, so our next question is, what challenges have you faced in your rowing career, and like, how did you overcome them?
Yeah, I think we face challenges on a daily basis. I think some of the major ones that I've faced is probably injuries and trying to mitigate my injuries. Especially at this level, it's kind of inevitable that you'll get something. For me, it tends to be my ribs. I've never fractured a rib, which knock on wood, but I can always, I have enough body awareness to know, okay, I've pushed it too far here, or I need to recover better or stretch more. About 3 years ago, I got a slip disc and a bulge disc in my back, and that was pretty rough. I think if anyone goes through back pain, it hits you hard and you can't really walk well and move properly, and it affects your entire life. So that was really tough. I had to step away from the sport for about 3 months. And then it just taught me how to mitigate injuries better and how to deal with my body moving forward, and how to recover better as well. I think that's a really important skill within any sport. I was kind of always on the mentality, work harder and you'll get more bang for your buck. But I slowly learned over time that you got to work smarter, and that means also giving your body time to recover. So yeah. Oh, my light just turned off. Injuries, I would say, is probably the biggest thing I've had to overcome. But also, I think just being able to push yourself on a daily basis, and I think figuring out when you have a goal and keeping it in your mind and being able to persevere, and being able to be resilient and come back from things. So often things won't go your way, or you might want to make whatever team and you might not make that team. So what are you going to do in order to move forward? And I think it's always about, how can I improve myself, not just as an athlete, but also as a person.
For sure, yeah. I think that's definitely another thing, like you said, that rowing has taught me, and yourself, of course, because I feel like myself, when I had or developed or something, a lower back issue with pain, it definitely taught me I need to take care of my physical health before I can move forward with my rowing. But yeah, definitely, for sure. We have a question here saying, what are the physical attributes of an ideal rower?
Oh. I could go 2 ways here, because I personally think of myself as an underdog, and I always like to encourage anyone to try this sport. And I think often people can get funneled into certain sports because of the way that they look, but I think it's also important to realize your value as a person and as an athlete, moving any sort of sport forward. And even if you might not have the perfect physique, I think you can also impact a team very heavily with other attributes that you do have. But often in rowing, I think we often see people who are very tall, long levers, so long arms. The sport loves leverage. But we still see different physiques, even on the national team, where people are shorter and some are 6'2", and we have a girl that's on the team that I think is 5'7". So I think it varies, and it's just, it's about that commitment and drive towards what you want to do and who you want to be. And I think it's important to realize those before you get set on a specific physique that you think you might need for something.
Yeah. I know our team, we like try and get as many people who may just be like initially interested in the sport because
Mhm.
they may not know that they can excel so much in that sport. And I know like for me, when I was first starting, like I'm not super tall compared to all the other girls or girls. So, but it worked out for me. So I mean,
Nice.
yeah, I guess just giving it a try is good.
Yeah.
The question I have is, what has been your favorite race so far?
I think probably I raced at the university World Championships, FISU, which was in China in the summer of 2018. And I'm actually I am the newest to the actual senior national team. So I don't have that much international experience. I've only been to 2 international regattas. One was the pre-Pan Ams in Rio, and the other one was the University Rowing Championships in Shanghai, China. And that one was probably one of my favorite races. I was in the double, and we had only trained together with my doubles partner for about 4 weeks prior. We had gone to the selection series, and then at selection, which was about a week-long process, then we got put in the double, and then we went on and trained the double for about 4 to 5 weeks, and then went to China. And the conditions were really intense, and really pushed our limits. I think it was about 42, 43 degrees, so really hot and really humid. And we had a great race. I'd probably say, yeah, one of my best races. And we just really enjoyed it. And we ended up coming second, and just missed first by very marginal amount of time. And that was kind of disappointing, but it was something where we came second, kind of registered it, and was like, okay, let's be proud of what we just accomplished, because we had a really good race, and that's all you can really ask for. So
Wow, China, I can imagine how cool that would be. That'd be so cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Last question, Rowan.
Okay. So we have a question in the chat. Sorry. Are the blisters on your hands a problem?
Oh no, you noticed. Oh. I saw as I was showing my replication of a blade that you would probably pick up on my blisters. They have been a problem for sure in the past, but I think I'm on my 5th or 6th year of rowing now, and so they're really just calluses. I don't get blisters too often unless if I take a big break, or if things change. So if I get new oar handles, I think when it gets really hot, then my hands can slip a little bit. When I change boats sometimes into a sculling boat, but that doesn't really happen very often anymore right now. But our bodies recover pretty quickly. And no, to be honest, I love my calluses now, because they're not blisters anymore, so it's great.
Yeah.
And now I have pretty strong skin here, so
Yeah.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my hands rip open right away.
No.
And on the erg, I get blisters, and it's very painful. But you know, it's good once they get all hard, I guess. So it's
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, another question I have. I guess, what was like your training process like to get to like the national team level? Like, what did you have to do in terms of like training and stuff?
Mm-hmm. That's a tough question, because when I first initially joined this sport, I was focused on university rowing. I always, in the back of my head, wanted to go national team. Even as a kid, I just didn't know what sport I wanted to go, but I did always want to go to the Olympics. And I think that was kind of naive of me to think too, but I think it also allowed me to have that drive in order to work hard towards something. Yeah, I think the university platform was amazing, because it allowed me to really enjoy rowing, have fun with my teammates, but then also work hard and work towards that next level. And you're probably finding that right now in high school, where you're enjoying what you're doing. And I think that's really, really important, especially in a process of trying to go to the Olympics, which is so long, then if you are just thinking about that end goal all the time, it's very unlikely that you're probably going to hit that, because you need to enjoy the process along the ways. And that happened for me. But the actual technical part of how I got to the center, in 2018, like I said, I rode in China. We placed pretty well there. I then went back to school for that next year. I ended up getting something that you call overtraining syndrome. So I was over fatigued, and that was in the summer of 2019. And at that time, I actually had just been cut from selection for Pan Am team that was going. And I ended up getting sent home, and I went home for about 2 months back to my hometown, and I didn't train much. I had a single that I was boring, but I just went out to enjoy it. And I think it was just at the time where I had to learn to really enjoy and not get so caught up on these results. And then that fall I came back to school, and I was in a much better place where I was loving the sport again and just doing it for myself and for the team. And my pair partner and I ended up going to National Rowing Championships, and we had an amazing race, and we ended up being the last pair to be put on the list for the Olympic camp that was happening for the next 8 months. And so I was in school at the time, and within 3 days I ended up dropping out of school, moving to Victoria, and starting being a full-time athlete. So it was pretty intense, and the transition was a little bit difficult because there's a lot more volume and intensity here, because you're just rowing all the time. But I managed to stick it through. So
Wow, that's awesome that you got into that camp. That's cool. I like that.
Okay. So I actually have a question that I'm actually really curious about. So when you're rowing, how do you push past the emotional and or mental blocks that you have during hard pieces and races?
Emotional, do you mean times where you want to stop, or? Yeah. I think that's really tough, and I think we'll all have those days. I had those times early on in the sport too, when you're first learning what it's all about and what you have to do, especially when you're pulling 2 kilometers on the erg. That's probably been some of the toughest mental times that I've had. But I think when you can, there's a couple strategies that I use. One being telling myself always and reminding myself that I love what I do. So even when I'm in a lot of pain, I know that it's going to be okay afterwards, and I know that I'm going to be better for it. And I've kind of started, it might be a little bit crazy, but I've started to kind of chase that pain and see how much deeper I can go, because I know that I'll become better afterwards. And so when you can change your mentality towards thinking like that, rather than being scared of what you're going through, I think that helps a lot. And then also another big thing for me is just focusing on the breath, whether I'm on the erg or on the water. The water helps a lot too, because you have a lot of different technical focuses. So sometimes you won't feel the pain as intensely as the erg may be, because you're in synchronicity with everyone else and you have more variables that you're focusing on. But I think it's just being okay with experiencing that and really divulging into what you're going to experience in that moment. And then you come out better and stronger after it.
Yeah, I think for sure for me, I have trouble with that mentality sometimes. And I know my coach tells me a lot, it's you physically can do it. It's just your mentalness and all that, your head talking to you. So I think for me, I just really have to push past that. So it's a good.
Yeah, I've definitely.
Sorry.
No, proceed.
It's an ongoing process though. And it even to say that you get to a point where you don't have to think about those things, I would be lying. I'm constantly thinking about those things and trying to figure out how I can be better, and using mental strategies in order to overcome certain experiences. But yeah, I think it's just falling in love with the process and learning that it is a process, and that you're always kind of learning new things and experiencing yourself in different environments and just loving it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we have like a few minutes left, so I think we'll do a quick fire questions just for fun.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Rowan, start.
All right. So chocolate or candy?
Candy.
The night or the morning?
Morning.
Summer or winter?
Summer.
iPhone or Android?
iPhone.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Pepperoni pizza or Hawaiian pizza?
Ooh, probably pepperoni, but I also don't really eat meat, so that's all good.
Yeah. Traveling by plane or by car?
Car.
Tropical places or snowy places?
Tropical.
Rap music or pop music?
Probably rap.
Stay up late or go to bed early?
Go to bed early.
Yeah.
All of you know that.
Yeah. Dogs or cats?
Dogs.
Sun or moon?
Sun.
Apple Music or Spotify?
Spotify.
Yeah.
Netflix or reading?
Ooh. Netflix.
Action movies or comedies?
Comedies.
Staying in or going out?
Staying in.
Yeah. Singing or dancing?
Both.
Yeah.
Phone or computer?
Phone.
And finally, Superman or Batman?
I'll go with Superwoman.
All right, so that kind of wraps up all of our questions, but we just wanted to say a huge thank you, Christina, for your time and for answering all those amazing questions. I really enjoyed learning about your story and experiences with rowing at such an advanced level. Personally, I know that I benefit from hearing some of your advice and learning about your rowing experiences, and will definitely keep that knowledge throughout my rowing career. Rowan?
So on behalf of the NCSSAA, we really appreciate you coming to speak with us today. So thank you so much.
No, thank you. I really enjoyed this, and I wish both of you all the best. And if you want to follow along with my journey at all, I actually also just started a podcast where I interview people who have made a difference in their sport or in their profession. It's called Difference Makers. So if you want to keep following along and check in, there's some other really cool people that I chat with that have inspired me. So yeah, give it a listen if you want.
For sure, definitely. Thank you.